Hello everyone, back again. 2 videos in one day? Yes, there is. I mentioned gratitude in the previous video, which came out like 2 hours ago. But one of the things I'm also grateful for is having good subscribers, who I hope don't mind if I double dip today and do a little bit of venting. Now, yesterday was a very long day, and I didn't really go into it too much in the video I just did, and I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it today because I spent most of the day alone. Even at work, I was traveling again. And Mark won't be home tonight. So if you'll indulge me, I just feel like I need to be heard. So I'm not a morning person. And yesterday started at about 5 o'clock in the morning. So I get up and get my stuff together. I went to bed at like 8 the night before. So I miss hanging out with Mark then too. It's been a bummer, you know, the last like 2 nights or so, 2 or 3, I've missed like hanging out with him, and those are his days off. But such is life. So I get my shit together, I get ready. We're leaving at about 6:30 from the office, me and 2 other coworkers. So we get there, we get in the car. We're going from Scranton to about Harrisburg. It's like 2.5 hour drive. It's dark still as I'm getting to work to go do this. So we make it on time, with a little bit of time to spare. We only get lost a little bit right towards the end, when we're like half a block away. And this event is a training for people who work with young people about how to coach them in something or another. I honestly wasn't sure what this whole thing was about when we went. All I knew was that it was free, but you had to pay $10 if you wanted to have lunch. So they paid the $10 ahead for all of us, and off we went. It was in a giant supermarket, and like giant store, the chain. We have it in Pennsylvania, I don't know where else. And they have a community center within Giant, and it has a couple smart classrooms and conference rooms. So that's where we met. And we get up there, there's about 16 people in the class, and it starts around 9. They didn't have any coffee, but there was a Starbucks downstairs. So, you know, people get coffee, whatever, come up. Thing starts at 9. At like 9:30, they bring in coffee. Like, when you start an event like that, the coffee is there when people get there. That's just what I think should be going on. And then if there's any of that, like little pastries or bagels and all that stuff they didn't have any of that. So a box of Joe comes up at that point. The guys who are doing it, there's 2 of them. I thought they were twins, maybe fraternal in the beginning. They're both about 28, 29 years old. Glasses, on the larger side, about my height, about 6 feet tall, and kind of goofy, kind of goober. One in sort of an endearing way, and the other in I want to punch you in the throat kind of way. I'll get to why later. So they're starting to present, and they seem nervous, and they let the audience know. They let us know that it was their first time doing it, I guess, without like a master trainer in the room. So they usually have someone else to lean on, and this time they were by themselves. So they were nervous. I get nerves. That's okay. I present 2 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week, depending on the time of year, and I do it from 45 minutes up to 8 hours with another presenter. I get being nervous. I get nervous every time I get up there to talk. No big deal. But they were struggling while being nervous with getting the material kind of across to us. Every time, every hour, we had to do an activity, a group thing. So get yourselves into groups of 2 or 3, or I don't like group activities. I don't. Show me 8 hours of PowerPoints and let me take a test. That's all I want to do. So we're getting into groups, and they explain this activity to us. I forget what it was about. Something about how to talk to people in distress. I don't know. And we needed clarification. I was there with my 2 coworkers. We became a group because we weren't feeling like mingling at that moment. And asked for some input, and the one who I didn't like, who I wanted to punch in the throat, comes over. And when we ask a question, he explains it in this real circular manner. And he's like, "Do you guys understand?" And my one coworker's like, "No." So he basically explains it again, poorly. I kind of didn't get what he was saying either. I thought I knew. And he's like, "Now do you get it?" And it's like, who wants to say no again? So it's like, yeah, whatever. So he leaves. High point, we did take a break about every hour, so I was able to run outside and suck down a cigarette. I had to traipse through the grocery store to go do it, but that's no big deal. So we're going through that, and then lunch comes. Now, I wasn't eating lunch. I'm still doing pretty much like one meal a day, intermittent fasting type stuff. This week it wasn't so much because we were cooking a lot, like during the day, and then filming it, and Mark was making desserts. So we were tasting as we went, so I wasn't like, not a touch of food. But most days I only really have one meal a day, and I have it in the evening. So I wasn't going to eat whatever was coming anyway. So I go outside and I call Mark, and we're talking for like 15, 20 minutes. And I go back in. It was a half-hour lunch, and people look pissed. Like, pissed. So $10 a head times 15, 16 people is like $150, $160. What came up for lunch was a small to medium platter of sandwiches, like ham and cheese, and not even Italian, turkey, and 2 or 3 2-liters of soda, and a bin, a $5 bin, I know how much they are because I get them at my Giant, of cookies. No way in hell was that $160 worth of food. No. No way. And people noticed, and apparently a couple people even said something. So, I was happy that was not, I wasn't the only person that noticed. I said something, and then 5 other people said we already brought it up. I'm like, okay, I won't say a thing. So that bothered me. That seemed shady as hell. It could have just been poor planning, because it was their first gig doing it, and that I can get. But somebody left with a lot of extra money that was allocated for that. So whatever they did with it, go cook your books, because you're lying to somebody. During lunch, another coworker I was with, a woman, asked one of the trainers, well, where do you work? Because a lot of people that do trainings, you might be contracted, but then work full-time for, like, a mental health agency. Like, I do trainings all different places, but I don't work always for the place that has made the training material. Like, I'll train for materials that are produced by an institute in Vermont, but I'm certified to train that material, but I work for a mental health agency. So, I mean, you see how it goes? She asks where he works, and he just looks and points to the binder. Okay? This is punch in the throat guy. And she's like, oh, okay. She's like, have you ever made it up to our area? And she starts throwing out the alphabet soup we all know in human services. Is it NBHCC, CCBH, PMHCA, all the soup, all that we have here? He's like, I've been there a ton of times. It's like, you smug fuck. Shut up. So he goes back, and then we do our lunch thing. And that wraps up. And my one coworker's looking for a cookie without chocolate in it because he gave it up for Lent, and he's like hounding for it. We find him an oatmeal raisin, and he's okay. He's great. I adore him. The afternoon picks up. Again, we break every couple hours, every hour. And I'm just getting more and more irritated with dude as the day is going on. The other guy, God love him, was so nervous. He was really insightful. He was just a really nice guy. He was just really chest pounding nervous. You could see it, the sweat. I was dying for him. But at the same time, his anxiety is his to control. I can appreciate that he could be nervous for 6 hours, but it got in the way of him being able to present the material well. And his co-facilitator wasn't helping him a bit. When he would struggle and look over, the guy'd be sitting on his phone. So they finish early, thank God, and we are able to get out at like 3:30, and then get back on the road, and then we hit traffic, and we all had to pee, but we all like lied and said we didn't, so we skipped the rest stop to try to make better time, but then we got like 5 miles from home, and we all had to go really bad, so we tried to go to a McDonald's, but there was traffic, so then we pulled into an Exxon, and then ran into the bathroom. And there was something really euphoric about emptying your bladder when it's that full. It's like, it borders on like this big dopamine rush. I don't know. So, made it through the training and we got home. And I got home at like 6:30 or 7, something like that. Mark was just finishing up the night before last night's video when I got home. Now, what's stuck in my craw about the guy I want to punch in the throat is this. And he was intelligent, I guess. At least he thought so. And he thought he needed to let people know how much he had done. And he explained and expressed himself. I get sarcasm. I'm sarcastic. Some of the funniest people I know are. Sarcasm, though, is not always kind. And there's nothing sarcastic or kind about pointing when someone asks you a question. I don't know where I had heard this from. I was trying to think, was it my parents? Was it a teacher, a friend? I don't think I came up with this little ethos on my own. And how this was explained to me, whoever it was, I think it might have been a sponsor or somebody said, they said to me, so I'm not saying this about myself, they said to me, Steven, it must have been a sponsor, Steven, you're smart. Don't use that to make other people feel stupid, to make other people feel small, to make other people feel inferior. Don't go for that zinger in a crowded room full of people with someone who's an easy target, who, you know, people don't exactly like, and you can get a good dig in, because that's not kind. Don't do that. Now, I'll leave it up to anyone to decide if I'm smart or not. I like to think I'm smart, but I think most people do, so what the hell does that mean anyway? You know. But at the same time, I didn't appreciate, and it reminded me to be a little reflective. Because if I come off, or ever came off, the way he did, I'd get punched in the throat. Or I would deserve it. I would have it coming. So, just bothered me. It pissed me off. That was the bigger annoying part of the day. It wasn't the traveling. Those were two of my favorite coworkers I went with. We were BSing and telling stories and talking about families and Easter and you know, a little bit of gossip, but not much, because we're just not too gossipy of folks. I had the back seat, I was chilling out, you know, the car ride was okay. It was a little bit early and there was traffic coming back, but that was all right. The training itself could have been better because the guys were struggling, not so well prepared, and the one guy was, as I've said, a smug fuck. So I had to get that little bit of venting, I think, out of my system. And again, the thing that stuck me the most was that he was unkind and believed, I'm not saying he wasn't intelligent, I'm not saying I'm smarter than him, I'm not saying anything, but he believed that because he was the trainer, the facilitator, the person with the knowledge, that he didn't have to behave respectfully to other people who didn't have the knowledge that he had. I don't know the exact definition difference between education and intelligence. Like, education is stuff you learn. Intelligence, I think, is your ability to process information. You know how I started to say I don't know the exact definitions? I should have stayed there. But I can say this. I remember being incarcerated, and while I was known as the smart guy in my cell, there was 16 of us, and a lot of the guys, God love them, life got so complicated, like in their teens, they never even got through like 9th grade, 10th grade. I might have had the most education, but I was not the most intelligent person there. I can tell you from talking with people, from watching them finish a crossword puzzle, from their sense of humor, from the conversations we had. I might have had a couple letters after my name and spent 4 years and 50 grand, but I was not the most intelligent guy in the room. If some of them had had different opportunities, different advantages, like maybe the ones I had, their life could have looked a lot different. So, kind of a kick in the butt for me to say right-sized, and I hope nobody does to him. Frankly, I wanted to do to him everything I was told not to do. I wanted to call him out and embarrass him because he was rude to one of my coworkers, pretty much, and kind of condescending. So I wanted to take the advantage of publicly humiliating him, which is the least kind thing to do and not good to do at work. But that's where I was at the moment. So resisting that probably built a rant that had to come out. So that's all I got. So if you have watched this far, thank you. Please, I guess, forgive the 2 videos in one day. I didn't mean to put out 2, but I didn't know where else to put this. So thank you for watching. If you have, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Follow us on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc. You can follow us on Facebook at SmokeySteveAndMarc. Actually, you friend request us there. It's like a joint page, so there's no following. You'll just be friends with us there. And that's pretty much it. So thank you all for listening and for watching, and I'll catch up with y'all soon. Bye.